Hi everyone, welcome to Grow Roots. This is Shannon and welcome to my June 2025 backyard garden tour. It is somewhat early in the morning. The sun is just coming up and showing through these amazing trees. If you've never watched Grow Roots before or any of my garden tours, thank you for watching. I appreciate that so much. I am a North Texas gardener and I have a fairly small suburban home north of Dallas, Texas, and we have this amazing view with a creek behind us. This is borrowed view. This does not belong to me, but we are so incredibly blessed to have this view that will never go away. There will never be construction behind us because this is a protected area of Lake Louisville behind us. It's like the creek that runs into the watershed that runs into Lake Louisville. So anyway, that's a little side note about my backyard, and I have been working on this backyard for probably 5 years now, ever since 2020. That's when we had our patio built and started really trying to do something with our backyard. And so this garden is 5 years in the making and still changing every single year. I always start off right over here in this corner of the garden, and this year it has completely filled in and it's become a little wild, but let me know if you like it. Like, I can't tell where one plant starts and another plant stops. So let's just go. Right here is a Spiraea. This one is actually, I think, double play. I always forget the name. I try to leave my tags in. Double play Big Bang Spiraea, and this is actually new this year. This is Chloe. She is our backyard garden cat. She found us. She was stray, already fixed. I think someone left her or dumped her, and we've been providing food and shelter for her, but she has to stay in the backyard because I'm extremely allergic. And yes, I'm petting her, but who can help it? She's just so cute. She's amazing. So you'll see her all throughout my backyard garden tour. But coming back to the Spiraea, this is double play Big Bang Spiraea. I've just planted this in the early springtime and it's done amazingly well here. And I just love this foliage because the new foliage is like a red color and then it turns orange, and it gave us a huge display of beautiful pink flowers in the springtime, and now it's just kind of growing like really well actually. I have another Spiraea over here that kind of anchors the space. There's two Spiraea there to kind of anchor that edge, and this one is double play candy corn Spiraea, and this one is actually a few years old and it's really doing great there. I absolutely love double play candy corn. It has a more vibrant bloom. It's like a really deep purple when it gets going, kind of a super vibrant color, and the new foliage is a little bit more vibrant red than the Big Bang is, and so it's been fun to kind of compare the two and the growth habit. This is a really nice compact growth habit, whereas I feel the double play Big Bang is already kind of trying to like take over or branch out, and it's not, it's still compact. It just doesn't have the same like really neat tidy shape that the candy corn Spiraea does. But it also hasn't been pruned by me, and so in the early like late winter, early spring, actually that's gonna have to be late winter because they start their buds in super late winter, but I will trim this guy back just as much as this guy, and then we'll really see the competition between the two. But it's really interesting. And then I have a row of dwarf Mexican petunia, also known as dwarf Ruellia. This variety has pink flowers. They do bloom in the summer, but they have not started their blooms for me quite yet. So super excited to see those. They're really a neat border edging kind of perennial plant. They do die back in the winter for us, but I really like this. It's grass, but it's a grassy texture, but it's not. You can tell that it's planted there. It's on purpose. That's my husband's problem with the grassy things. He feels like they look like weeds. I feel like this does not look like a weed. Like, I've planted this on purpose. It's nice. It has a real nice tidy shape, perfect for a border. And then, wow. Okay, so all of the things in here, it's just like, it's hard to tell, like I said, where one stops and another begins, but I'm going to try my hardest. So here we go. I winter sowed a ton of some annuals, some perennials, and added all kinds of things to the landscape. And so it's like, okay, what is what? But I have larkspur blooming in almost late June, y'all. This was the last of my larkspur to bloom. I have more larkspur right here that's just at the edge of its bloom, and you can see there's some seed heads right here that I'm letting it seed itself so that I kind of have this same look next year. So there's larkspur that's kind of dotted. Honestly, I dotted it all throughout, but I had, you know, this main one that survived. This one is a white one. And then that one was purple and white together. I had one over there, but it didn't make it. It died early on. I also have yarrow. This is Summer Pastels yarrow, and it's trying to get taken over by a ground cover that I'll talk about in a second, but it's still doing, like, it's fighting, and it's doing really well now. It's finally overtaking that ground cover, and it hasn't bloomed yet, whereas I have another one in a container that is blooming. So this is the last of the yarrow to bloom that I planted, but still doing really, really good. And then let's see, I have, this is Sweet William here, and then look at this. This is like a wild, I think, not African violet. This is a wild violet that just like popped itself here, and I could have let it stay, but I decided not to let it stay because I didn't want it to take over the Sweet William that was there. And then it just keeps coming up, and it never did bloom for me. I let it stay until it was supposed to bloom, and it didn't, and that's when I pulled it. But these guys are actually kind of a neat wild plant that when you get it in your garden, it can give you these really cute little purple blooms in the springtime. So I don't know, maybe I'll let it stay. What you see here, the ground cover that I'm referring to, is Plumbago serratustigma. And look at this amazing true blue flower. It's an incredible ground cover. And for us here in North Texas, it can take full sun. This is my full sun bed, although now, because all of the plants are like taking over each other, some are part sun, some are full sun, and some are even shade, and honestly it can take it all. And I started with 2 of these Plumbago serratustigma plants. I think I had one planted here and one planted back there. I'll show you what it looks like on the other side. And they have completely taken over this bed this year. So I think it's in its it's in its second full season, and it's taking over. So just know, like, if you're looking for a ground cover that can take over in a couple years, that will also provide you some really cool blooms, and you have a full sun or part sun spot for it, then go for it. Just know it can take over, and it really has. But I love that purple bloom or blue bloom that's popping up everywhere. You've seen this when I've been spanning around. This is Echinacea purpurea. It is unbelievable, y'all. It's grown from seed. I grew this from seed in 2021. I grew, I think, 6 of them, and I've transplanted some of them because they originally weren't getting enough sun and kind of taking over a spot. And so I transplanted 2 of them, one here and one there from a different location, and they are huge. So that one over there is as tall as that fence. So it's a 4.5 foot, it's a small fence, I realize, but 4.5 foot, I think, tall. And then this one is almost just as tall. It looks amazing. I love that view right there. Have other types of Echinacea dotted all throughout here as well. So let's talk about this one. This one's actually my favorite. This is Monrovia Sunseekers Orange, and I absolutely love that color. This is the last one to bloom for me. It's just now starting to bloom, whereas all of my other echinacea have been blooming for about a month now in late June. So, but man, I just love the compact nature of this plant, but also the color is probably my favorite. Let's see what else to talk about. I'll talk about this in just a moment. It's actually a container, but I'm gonna come around here again. I showed you all that larkspur. I'm letting larkspur go to seed so that it can seed itself. I'll also collect some of it and share some. This is larkspur kaleidoscope mix. Here is another echinacea that I grew from seed. This is white swan echinacea, and it was a little bit difficult to grow from seed. I did have only one survive. I think the trick to sowing the seeds for white swan is to winter sow them. But anyway, and I didn't do it that year. Wow, that's another great shot. Look at that. But white swan echinacea, this one survived. This is its third year and biggest bloom for me yet. They're doing amazing. And I have Alyssum that I also winter sowed, and I think this variety is Rosie O'Day. It started off purple, but now it's more like the whiter blooms. Not really sure, but everything's taking over all of the Alyssum I planted. I planted a row of Alyssum here and all the way following this curb, and everything has just overtaken it. So poor thing. Okay, so let's talk about this. This is actually a container. You cannot tell, especially just looking down into the garden bed. But let's see if we can get a shot of that. There's the container. It's a terracotta container that actually has a limelight hydrangea that is now starting to bloom. This limelight hydrangea, it was propagated the year before last, and just I let it grow last year just however it wanted in this pot, and then I noticed it had a central stem that was straight up, that was perfect for training it to be a standard or a limelight hydrangea tree. And so that is what I'm doing with it this year. So there are only 4 stems that I have allowed to grow. It is staked up with a tomato cage, and then I'm making sure that it's staying upright with that little tie there. And so this is forming the shape that we're going to need to train this into a limelight standard tree. I do have a video about that. I trained another hydrangea tree in my front yard that I created a video on, so you can check that out. I'll pop the link in the upper right hand corner. And then I underplanted this with an amazing mix. I'm so happy with the mix that I decided on. So what I have is purple scaevola, and you can see that all throughout. It's actually blue scaevola. It's called blue scaevola, I should say. I think it's purple. And then I have cascading vinca in 3 different colors. So I have a dark pink cascading vinca, I have a light pink, and then I have a white. And also planted in here, which, how is it doing? Let's check on it. I can't even see it anymore, but I have dichondra in there as well. But it's kind of getting taken over by the cascading vinca, not really getting any light. You could see some on the other side there too, but it's kind of an afterthought and probably wasn't necessary, because you can just see it's doing, all of these plants are doing amazing in there. So coming over to this part of the garden, you can see a lot more of that plumbago ceratostigma. It's these like little tiny blue blooms all over. What's really interesting that I noticed this year, because the plant is very well established now, I had a layer of plumbago ceratostigma that was underneath this that already bloomed, and then after it was done blooming, another layer of plumbago ceratostigma appeared, which you see that light green layer, and it's now blooming. It's incredible. And then if you see these little tiny purple blooms right there, And right there, that is actually candy tuft. I planted candy tuft all around this container. And again, I tell you, it was just quickly taken over by that plumbago ceratostigma. But I did have a few of the candy tuft that just kind of peeked through. And this variety of candy tuft was grown from seed, again, winter sown. It's called Dwarf Fairy Mix, and I think it's an annual candy tuft, unfortunately. We'll see, but really pretty. I love those pink blooms, and they're just kind of popping up through the plumbago, and it's just, I think it's really pretty like that. You'll see more echinacea. These, again, this is another more compact variety, and this is powwow echinacea. Really gorgeous variety, and I'm getting ready to deadhead a few of them, but they're just continuing to put on these beautiful blooms, especially in this plant. Absolutely gorgeous. I love that I have several varieties of echinacea here. Who knows, maybe this bed will just be completely overtaken by echinacea next year and I'll call it my echinacea bed. I'm not really sure, but you know, it's doing great. Back here, you'll see I have some zinnia, and these are the queen lime zinnias. Again, I did winter sow these. I have a method for winter sowing warm season annuals, and I have a video about that as well if you want to see how I do it. But these were winter sown, and they're doing great, and those are doing really well. I love the queenie lime. They are turning out really pretty. I didn't think I would love the color, but I do. And then I really love the shape of the flower. Probably my favorite shape for zinnia flowers for sure. So I will try more. This is a mix, and so I think I might try like Queenie Lime Red next year and just do the reds and see how those go. But love that. Along this back fence, I have Star Jasmine, and how do I condense this information? But I really want to tell you all about it. My Confederate Star Jasmine is probably been in the ground now 4 or 5 years. I planted it here the very first year that we did this bed. And what I have found with Star Jasmine that was disappointing is that the vine completely dies back typically during the winter time for us, and it doesn't die at the roots, so it regrows the vine every single year, but it doesn't flower because of that, because it blooms on old wood. Well, this past winter, finally, it survived the winter. Almost all of my jasmine survived, and they're doing incredible. Not only that, they are continuing to bloom in late June. I can't believe that. Actually, this is the first time I've been able to see these in full bloom. That was my vision for Star Jasmine. That, again, I was disappointed because it wasn't, matching what I had in my mind back here for this fence. But finally this year it happened, and they're growing like crazy. So I'm definitely trying to weave it in this fence and praying that it will survive again this winter so I can have the same outstanding show next year. But another thing that's planted down there right there is Sweet William. This Sweet William is 3 years old, and it's I grew this one from seed as well. It's an incredible variety where the Sweet William blooms get super tall as the Queen Lime zinnias that you see. And so really beautiful blooms. You can see that in bloom. I think if you watch my May backyard garden tour, if you want to see what that looks like. But they only last, they're biennial and only supposed to last a couple years. This one's on its 3rd year, and I'm noticing a lot of dieback. I just pulled up quite a few of the main stems there that just had completely died. So we'll see if this one comes back next year or not. It's okay if it doesn't, because I know this plant is not supposed to survive for a really long period of time. So coming up over here, I have a peony. I forget, it's either Carl Rosenfeld or Sarah Bernhardt, but it still has never flowered for me. It's doing pretty well there. This is a fairly full sun location, except now that it has this huge Echinacea purpurea next to it, it's a little more shaded than it would be, but it still gets quite a bit of sun. And this is its 3rd year. I was really hoping that I would see blooms on it this year, because that's what they say. It started as bare root, and they say year 3 is when you should start seeing the blooms. I just haven't seen any yet, but do love the plant. And now that it's really, really hot, it is going to go dormant, and that's what it did last year. It's actually lasting longer this year than it ever has, but I've noticed that it'll start to die back once we get to the 100-degree temperatures, which is happening very, very soon, and then it will say goodbye for the season and come back next spring. So let's see, that's about it for this garden bed. Again, that Echinacea purpurea, this is one plant, y'all, one plant, just absolutely incredible. And this one, yeah, there's just new blooms coming up everywhere, and I don't even see any right now that I need to deadhead, to be honest. So just outstanding. I really love that. But it is, again, kind of taking over this vine area that I have. I have star jasmine right here. I have some clematis, and then like the star jasmine right there as well. I have a rosemary down there that's doing pretty good. The clematis, y'all, I have two or three varieties of clematis here. The big mature one is sapphire indigo clematis, and the grasshoppers and katydids are just eating it up, and I'm noticing some dieback. So we'll see if this plant survives. I have a Jasmine clematis that I was bare root last year, and another type that I forget the name of it. Is it Henry something? Henry Young, maybe? Anyway, I have 2 other clematis that are doing really, really good. So we'll see. Those might just overtake the sapphire indigo. I mean, I don't know. They're just focusing on this one clematis and not touching the other ones, and I don't know why. But anyway, I take a fairly hands-off approach to pest control. It is starting to take the plant. I probably should do something. I can't get rid of the grasshoppers, y'all, and the katydids. Like, I can't catch them. They're too fast. I've even caught them by their legs, and I've learned that they shed. You know how lizards shed their tails if you catch them by their tail? I have learned that grasshoppers shed their legs if you catch them by their legs. Oh, I can't even tell you how many I've caught with their legs, and then they let go of their. It's gross. Anyway, I can't get rid of the grasshoppers. I'm not sure what to do about it, except to just say, okay, it's part of the ecosystem. You guys get to eat it. At least you're leaving some of my other plants alone. So that's that. I do want to mention that I have a ton of containers. This is a really quick look that border my patio, but it's just, I have so many containers now. I probably have 40 of them between my back and front yard that I do a separate container garden tour now to talk about all of them. But just a real quick glimpse, I will do a container garden tour probably in the next week or so, so stay tuned for that. But coming back, next to the clematis, I have a Texas sage, and it really struggled. It got really bared this winter, and so did so many other Texas sages in North Texas. We didn't have the most harsh winter either. I'm not really sure what happened to the Texas sage that caused this, but it completely defoliated almost, and it's coming back now. But you can see there's this bare spot right here where it's still trying to come back. This was in bloom last week when I got back from vacation, but all the blooms are gone now, and it's actually doing pretty well there. Okay, so coming up over this side of the garden, well, first I'm going to talk about this. This is Sunshine Ligustrum. It is known as a somewhat smaller shrub, a great border plant, great foundation shrub, absolutely a rock star here in North Texas. And when it gets lots of sun, it gets this wonderful yellow color, and it stays this way, evergreen, green and yellow, for the entire winter, and it does really, really well. This particular Sunshine Ligustrum got huge in this space, so I tree formed it, and it's still so amazingly huge. It's like, I'm telling you, it's about 8 feet tall. I know I'm up on my patio, which is quite high up, but this is, 9 or 10 feet tall, this archway that my husband built, and it's almost as tall as it now. So, oh my goodness. So let me go down there and I'll show you what's down there. But I have to tell you, it's just getting so crowded down there with the sunshine, ligustrum, and what I have planted that it's hard to get around and it might look a little wild. But here we go, okay? All right. So again, more Confederate star jasmine doing well. I had planted some Chinese forget-me-nots that are mostly spent, but still putting out a little bit of bloom now, which is cool. And then here is the sunshine ligustrum. I have a juga planted all under here, which eventually I would like this whole area to be a juga. It's just a matter of getting it to be established and spreading, and I'll add, like, I add a few plants every single year, and so that's kind of the plan for that. I've got some wild vines growing. This is just completely honest with y'all. They overtake this area really quickly because we back up to a creek. So I tried to clean this up, but I still see a ton of wild vines. But you can see how I have tree formed it. I basically just cut everything, all of the branches for the first, like, what, 3 feet? And there's Chloe, she's making her appearance again. And the rest of it is just, you know, and I have really made an effort to prune this guy. I'm pruning it about once a month, and it's still woolly like you see, but I don't want it to overtake everything else in the garden. Another Texas sage is here. This is a testament to how tough a Texas sage can be. I'm trying to get this vine taken care of. I'll tell you what that vine is in a second, but the Texas sage now is probably almost full shade, and it's still doing pretty well. It does get some sun when the sun is completely overhead, but that's about it. The sunshine ligustrum kind of takes all the rest of the sun, but it's actually doing well this year. I'm actually pretty surprised about that. This vine that I was just moving out of our way is coral honeysuckle, and it's planted all the way back there, and it's reaching all the way over here, which I would say might be about 15 feet, maybe 12 feet. But anyway, it's really taking off this year. It is blooming a little bit. I'll show you some of those blooms in a moment. I have milkweed that was planted in 2020, 5 years ago, that just comes back every year but gets taken over by everything else. Right here is limelight hydrangea. So this limelight, again, I propagated a few years ago. Actually, this is its second full year in the ground here, but it's its third or fourth full year after being propagated. And last year it got taken over by the sunshine ligustrum, so it did not flower at all. And then this year, like I said, I still need to go in. I just did this a few weeks ago, but it's time for me to go in and cut out all of this growth so that the limelight still gets at least a little bit of sun. I've been doing a lot of experimentation when it comes to limelight hydrangea because it is one of my favorite plants. I love hydrangeas. All kinds of hydrangeas. The limelight is one of them, and I really want to see here in North Texas what is the best location to grow limelight hydrangea in the ground where it will be successful. And so this is much more of a shadier spot than any of my limelight hydrangeas. Last year it didn't really bloom. This year it is blooming, so it tells me that as long as it gets a little bit of sun, it will bloom. I would say this is a part sun location, but really pushing even just like 3 hours of sun, honestly. So it's actually doing pretty well. It's growing pretty tall, and it's liking life here. So that's a good thing. Back here, I have some coleus, rainbow coleus planted from seed. Again, winter sown with my warm season annuals, and they're looking absolutely beautiful there. And then I have, this is the original spot, even where this is the original spot where I had planted all of my Echinacea purpurea grown from seed. And this is one of the last ones that I have kept here because, like I said, they just get so big that they were like taking over the space. So I transplanted all but 1 or 2. I think this might be 2 plants. It's 1, 2. And they're just doing really well here. Again, this is very much a part sun location. They are a lot shadier than all of my other Echinacea are, and yet they're still going strong and they're still blooming. So that's a testament to what a tough plant that is. And right here is a new plant for me this year that I am so excited about, but again, not sure if I'm gonna grow it again. But this is Mexican sunflower, or Tithonia, and it is massive. It's way taller than I am. I'm short, so that's not saying much, but it goes all the way up here, so it's at least a couple feet taller than I am, and I'm admittedly 5 foot tall, so it's at least 7 feet tall over here. And even the spent blooms, look at those. The spent blooms are still absolutely incredible. So this is 2 Mexican sunflower plants that were planted here, and they, like, one is kind of reaching that way and this one is branching out. This is probably my most successful one, my biggest one and bushiest one. I've had to, if you see, I've had to prune this because it was like overtaking the limelight hydrangea right here. So I pruned half of this off already, but it's massive. So I would say, you know, 7 to 8 feet tall, and it wants to take over like 6 feet in circumference of. So if you have a really large planting area and you're not sure what to do with, and you want one plant to fill an entire huge area, Mexican sunflower or Tithonia is the plant that you want. This is an annual. It's not going to last our winter, but it is super easy to grow, super hard. Like, it has tolerated our heat like a champ, even though it has these huge leaves, just like a sunflower would, honestly. And it has just, it's very little effort for a very large plant, and the payoff is unbelievable because these blooms are just this vibrant orange red color. It's just unbelievable. They're almost neon, y'all. So really do love Mexican sunflower, but my gardens are on the smaller side and I really just don't have the space. I really don't have the space for it. It's taken over this area, and everything else seems happy so far, but I'm really gonna have to just check it and make sure that this limelight still can get some sun. So there you go. Now coming over into this area, again, this area used to be a full sun area before I started growing the honeysuckle, before, you know, this massive display of Tithonia. This blocks all of the sun that I would get. We have a tree above us, but I mean, the sun does peek through for a majority of the day. You can see the blue sky, but just barely. And it's because the Mexican Tithonia, or the Mexican sunflower slash Tithonia, has kind of covered up a lot of it. So this is a more shady spot this year. This is black-eyed Susan vine, and this one is doing fine, and it's growing up here just like I want it to. But this black-eyed Susan vine that I have planted on this side has died away. I think I've got definitely some irrigation issues going on over there. There's too much water in this corner that I need to check out, and it has just like flooded the black-eyed Susan vine. But right here, oh, did this bloom get knocked off somehow? Oh, that's such a bummer because it was my last one too. These are daylilies that were really just planted. This is a white ambrosia daylily, and this is a it's a red daylily, and I keep forgetting the name. I can pop it on the screen. It bloomed while I was on vacation, and then when I came back, barely anything. I had this one left that I was like, yay, and then now it's been like broken off, probably by Chloe or a raccoon or something, maybe my puppy, but that's a bummer. The white ambrosia is absolutely beautiful though. They're struggling here and they're not getting enough sun, I think. And again, there might be an irrigation thing going on. Let's see. No, they're not too wet at all, actually. I'm not sure, but hopefully they will survive at least this year, because once daylilies get established, they do really, really well. Again, the coral honeysuckle, and let me show you. Oh, this bloom is almost spent, but it had a really great display of blooms in mid to late spring, and then now it's just working on growth, and it's really taking off. And I mean really taking off. I have had to like prune this back because it wants to grow all the way over and then take over everything in this area. So I've really pruned back several times and just trying to keep this area a little bit tame, but it wants to go. It wants to really branch out. So there you go. And we're about down here, if you're looking, this is purple hyacinth bean vine. I grew purple hyacinth vine here and here to grow on this trellis last year. It again was just too large of a vine for me, too crazy of a vine for me, that took away all of the sun for this location. So I decided not to plant it again, but it seeds itself really well. So there's some purple hyacinth bean vine trying to take off, and I actually think it is over there. So there you go. Now we're gonna go up there and I'll show you what's up there. Okay, so here is where we just were. Here's a great view of that Mexican sunflower or Tithonia. I have two more that are planted right there, but one is going that way, and then one is really, really, really tall as that trellis is. So I would say that's like 9 feet tall, I think. It's crazy. Look at that. Just unbelievable. There's also a sunflower over here, like an actual sunflower. I think, oh, there might be a couple of blooms left. There you go. Just a couple left. This was like, I guess, a multi-blooming sunflower, and it started at the top and then it, had a bunch of flowers going down. So these are some of our last ones. Maybe looks like it tried to form some buds there, but it didn't work. But anyway, there's a regular sunflower. And then let me just show you. This is these are my trellises that my husband built when we started this garden, and they have Tangerine Beauty Crossvine on them, and they are just absolutely spectacular. This is its 3rd year, and they say with vines and shrubs and perennials that the first year they sleep, the second year they creep, and the 3rd year they leap. And so for Tangerine Beauty Crossvine, that is absolutely the case. It is taking off in its 3rd year, and I had a beautiful, beautiful display of blooms, completely covered in blooms. You couldn't see any green in early spring, and then now it's working on its growth. But I do get some sporadic blooms. So let me see. I think there's one up here that I might be able to show you. There you go. There's one of the blooms there. And I get sporadic blooms all throughout the season. And then this is an evergreen vine as well. It is a Texas superstar plant, and it is a superstar for a reason. This is my favorite perennial vine, and it is just a rock star. So those trellises are covered with that, and they're doing really, really great. Again, I have lots of things in containers. Stay tuned for the container garden tour. Before I forget, I do have a fairly new shade garden right over here that I want to show you guys. This is fairly new. This is in its 2nd year, I think. Yeah, okay. I started off with buying these containers on clearance at Sam's Club at the end of the summer season, which, by the way, they have ones that are just like this, just not this color, that are on clearance right now for $16. I think I got these for $10 though, a couple years ago at Sam's Club. And then I got these hosta end of season, which right about now would be it. I got these hosta on clearance at Callaway's for $1 each. So look around. If you find some hosta on clearance, pick it up, because this is what they can become. These are unbelievable. So this is, I believe this one is the Yellowbroic. Is it Yellowbroic or? Nope. Elegans Blue. And then this one is an Yellowbroic hosta. And then these two are proven winners hostas. This is Shadowland Woo La La. And then this one is Shadowland Diamond Lake. And my hosta are doing incredible this year. I think next year I'm going to split them and then pop some in the ground and things like that. I may even pop, I don't know. Anyway, they're doing fantastic. This one, for whatever reason, the snails are loving it this year. I've been good, but I've been bad about putting snail bait down. I use Corey's snail bait. It's like, safe for humans and pets and things like that. But I just planted like the third round. Not in time because the snails really got to it a little bit, but still they're doing really well. The rest of them actually look really good, really clean. They're gonna start getting into the 100-degree temperatures really soon and not look like this the entire season. So I'm really just kind of taking it all in. I love hosta and I love that they're doing so good. They get pretty much full shade all day long. You can see a little bit of dappled sun right now, but oh, they're so beautiful. And then this is all brand new. Everything underneath it is a year old or less. I'm trying other shade plants in this area. And so I have a Brunnera right here. It's by Monrovia and it's like Sea of Hearts Brunnera, doing fantastic here. And then I planted a lot of Liriope. I got some Liriope on clearance last year, end of season. The problem is one of my dogs likes to pee on the Liriope, and so I've got lots of Liriope sudden death happening, which is why you see I had 3 extra bricks, and that's all I have. But I'm looking around on Facebook Marketplace for a deal on some type of, you know, somewhat taller garden stone to keep my dog from getting too close to the Liriope and peeing on everything, because he's going to ruin it. But I do have some left, and if I can get them to stop, these guys will multiply enough to where I can fill in the spaces fairly quickly. But I just have to get them to stop doing it. And then, oh, this one bloomed. Look at that. That's pretty awesome. This plant right here is just such an awesome plant. It's giant leopard plant, and other people call it tractor seat plant, and it's just incredible. Later on, hopefully, this guy will give me some yellow blooms. They are actually pretty, and this is just a great, fantastic shade plant for Texas. They really like the Texas heat. I had another leopard plant, or another spotted leopard plant, a different variety planted here, but I really think my dog got to it just like he got to that, and it just gave me like sudden death about a few weeks ago. So I have nothing there for now, but I do have plans for that. I will be planting something in there soon. And then here I have a hydrangea. This was propagated. I'm about to show you the hydrangeas that I propagated it from, but this is doing actually really well. And this again is another test. This is a Hydrangea macrophylla, and they do not like, you know, any kind of afternoon or evening sun here in North Texas, but they do need a little bit of sun to bloom, I think. But this guy is kind of my experiment, like what is it going to do in full shade, because this guy really doesn't get any sun. So far it's doing great on foliar growth, but obviously I haven't seen blooms on it, but it's only a year old propagated, so I don't expect blooms on a brand new baby plant. But that one we are going to watch to see if I can get blooms on it in full shade. And then this guy, oh my goodness, this is an autumn fern, and it's probably one of my favorite plants right now. I just can't believe this guy is only a year old, and it lasted the entire winter for me. It's not even a year in the ground, actually. And it lasted the entire winter. It was evergreen for me this winter. I don't think it will be evergreen for us every winter, but it has just really taken off here. It loves this spot. I love it. And I almost, when I was planning this bed, I almost got enough autumn ferns to put in between every space, and I didn't, because I wanted to try a variety of different plants, which that's good when you're starting a new garden bed. I want to know what works, but now I know that works. And so, yeah, I mean, that might be what I do, is put all those in there. But anyway, that is my shade garden, really looking good. And hopefully by the next time you see it, I'll have some type of garden border over there to keep my dogs from peeing over there. So let me take you to the last part of my garden, and it is a part shade / shade garden that again is fairly new, a couple years old. So this front part that is in the light right now is a part shade portion of this side yard, and it just kind of has a hodgepodge of all kinds of different things here. I really kind of haven't figured out a good design for it. I'm just kind of seeing what works because it's really kind of a difficult location being part shade. But one of the things that does work really well is canna lilies, and they are gorgeous, except that they kind of take over everything. So like I have a volunteer canna lily coming right here that I've got to take care of. And so I don't like that nature of it, but I do love them and they do work really well. But I want them on this back row only. And again, they want to go forward. They want to spread everywhere. A lot of other things that I have tried here, and they're working, except they're a little bit floppy. So let me show you. This first one is Gaillardia. This was winter sown this year, and so I planted it in some full sun locations and I planted it in part shade locations, and it shouldn't be grown in part shade. Let me just tell you, the original plant is over there, but it has completely flopped, stretching for light, and then it's right there. Probably not going to keep the Gaillardia there. It's just not the right spot for it. Right here I have foxglove, again winter sown. Not doing much this year except growing leaves and roots, but I think it will do well there. I have purple heart Tradescantia, and I thought my puppy had destroyed all of it last year. It's actually the border of this garden bed, but she was obsessed with it when she was, you know, super tiny puppy last year, and she dug all of it up. It is now slowly coming back, but it does well here in this part sun location. And then I have another peony. And this one, again, doesn't get nearly as much sun as my other peony does, but it's still coming up and it's still doing well. It's just not as big. And again, it's third year, did not bloom, still hasn't bloomed, hoping for next year. Okay, so let's talk about this. First, I have some volunteer zinnias. These just were zinnias that were grown in a container, and then the seeds blew down here, and I'm letting them grow. Zinnias actually do okay in part sun, y'all. They do get a little tiny bit floppy, but not really. That one's really, really pretty. And then these blooms that you see right here, this is Greg's Blue Mist Flower. Really, really pretty flower. I really actually love it. But again, in this part sun location, it's planted here, but it flops over and kind of becomes almost a ground cover in this area, which I honestly don't mind. And it's mixing in with zinnias, and I actually think that's a great combination. So that's Greg's Blue Mist Flower. I was hoping to attract the queen butterflies with this plant and the monarchs, because they are known to just flock around mist flower, but I still haven't seen any. To be honest, I really haven't seen many butterflies at all this year, and I don't really know why. It's kind of weird. I see, like, normally at this time I've got some wild passion vine growing, and I would see Gulf fritillary butterflies going like crazy and laying their eggs on it, and the caterpillars feasting on the passion vine and all that kind of stuff. I haven't seen that this year. And I've seen lots of bees. The bee pollinators are here. I haven't seen a whole lot of butterflies, and I don't know what's going on. Like I said, I don't use a lot of pesticides for that very reason. Like, I don't want to kill the pollinators. I love the pollinators and I love the butterflies, and I don't want anything to kill the caterpillars or the butterflies, but I think someone in the area probably has applied some pesticide, and that might be what's going on, but who knows? But there's a butterfly issue this year, and I'm really sad about it, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. In the fall, the queen butterflies are supposed to be flocking around here, so we will just have to see what happens. I have a boxwood there. I have a volunteer sunflower here. So sunflowers can kind of grow in part sun. This, my neighbor, I think, planted or spread these seeds in her yard, and they just happened to get into my yard, and so I've let it grow because I think that's fun. But back behind there is a daylily, and she is still blooming. This particular variety is a few years old in my garden, and these have given me more blooms and reblooms this year than ever before, and that's so great because I love that color. I have a Rudbeckia that I planted. Again, grown winter sown from seed. So that's doing well, mixing in with purple heart. I have some ground cover down there that's a vinca. variegated Vinca major. I have those leaves that you see back there. That's amaryllis, and it's doing well. And then this guy. This is my rose mallow, and usually this guy is just, he doesn't even have a chance to flower because the grasshoppers flock to it and eat it. But this year they've eaten a little bit of it, but not a whole lot. And so this plant is just gorgeous this year and really beautiful, beautiful blooms. So yeah, this was, you know, a gift from my neighbor, and this is its 3rd year in the ground, and I think this is its best year so far for sure. And then more purple heart, more variegated Vinca major, and then about right here starts a shade portion of the garden. And the reason is because right above us, it's my neighbor's. It's a crepe myrtle, and so you're gonna see a ton of white all over everything. It's the crepe myrtle petals. I really kind of like it. It looks like snow on the ground in summertime, and so I don't mind it at all. But what I have planted here is a row of hydrangeas. There's 6 of them in this shady spot. They just get dappled sun, that's all. This one gets a little bit of light at this time of day, but that's it. And then I also have begonias that I like to pick up a flat of begonias and put them all around the hydrangeas every year because I just love that look. And they do really, really well. They do so well, in fact, that a couple of them overwintered from me for last year. So I did not buy white begonias this year at all. This one came back. They are not supposed to come back in zone 8, and a couple of them did. So that's really, really cool. We'll see what kind of winter we get, and we'll see if we get these guys to overwinter. I don't expect that, but it would be cool. And then last fall, I planted a whole bunch of coral bells. I have 5 varieties of coral bells that I planted, and this one is just not doing well. This is the magma, which happens to be like my favorite variety, but again, it could be one of my dogs peeing on it. But I do have a little bit of new growth, but even the new growth is just not doing well, and so I don't think this one's going to survive. However, over here, like all the rest of them are doing fine. This one is electric lime, and then this one is a caramel, and then this one is onyx, and this one is Georgia peach. And so they are all doing really, really well here, but that one magma is just not. That's okay, I can replace that. And then just looking at these hydrangeas, they are doing really good. They have struggled with chlorosis, and so I've been treating that for sure. I treat it with coffee grounds, which actually seem to be the most beneficial. I know a lot of you will say not, but I do save coffee grounds and treat them with coffee grounds frequently. And then I also treat them with soil acidifier as well as chelated iron. So these 2 are my smallest, but they are probably the shadiest hydrangeas that I have. This one as well. So sorry y'all, you can hear my AC just kicked on. Just don't really have control over that. But anyway, the 3 that are the smallest are the 3 that get the least amount of sun. So that's also, like I told you, I like experimenting. These are a little bit more part sun. These are not a lot of sun, and you can just kind of see they'll stay more compact. They have a little bit harder time with chlorosis also, but I am treating it. It's just a non-stop effort, really. Again, here's another white begonia that made it through the season, that came through. And coming up over here, this is now again a part sun location. This area actually gets more midday sun. So I would say this area gets sun from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m., about 3 hours. And so it's still kind of hot here in Texas in those 3 hours. But these plants are doing really, really well in this location. So I have pink Turk's cap here, and it just hasn't bloomed yet, but it should be starting to bloom fairly soon. I have Rudbeckia that's doing okay. And then I have, this is the daylily, but this one doesn't, oh, look, I got seed pods on this daylily. That's pretty cool. But yeah, there's a pink daylily there. And then this is just one of my favorite plants that I have planted. It is an Oakleaf hydrangea, and I just snipped off the blooms. They were spectacular. I'll pop a picture on the screen of the blooms because they were so huge, like so long. Oh my goodness, they were just beautiful. Here is the start of like a baby one that started to rebloom for me. I saw another one in here somewhere and I can't find it. Oh, here it is. There you go. There's a bloom, but that's not nearly as big as the other blooms were. This is dwarf Alice in Wonderland Oakleaf hydrangea, and it's only supposed to get 5 feet tall, which I'm 5 feet tall, and this is just slightly maybe taller than I am. And this is only its second year in the ground. So really unbelievable. It loves this part sun spot. Even the midday sun, it can take it. It's not burning at all. Even the new growth. And well, wait, nope, that's the crepe myrtle. So yeah, it's just not, it can take it. Y'all, Oakleaf hydrangeas are unbelievable, but they can get massive, even the dwarf ones. And then coming over here, I have another pink begonia down here, and then a Chinese forget-me-not. And this guy I thought I killed, but I didn't. And it's an autumn fern. I didn't get this guy planted soon enough. It was in the container and it didn't get watered for a little while, and so I thought it had died completely, but I planted it up. It's getting good water now and it's doing okay. And then I have Mexican petunia that's planted right there that's just not flowering yet. That's a purple full-size Mexican petunia. So there you have it. That is pretty much it for my backyard. I want to thank each and every one of you for watching. This has been a great year for my backyard garden, and I'm just absolutely loving it. I know in the next coming months of July and August, it's going to be struggling a little bit. So, but this is June. This is probably the peak of the flowers and the peak of the growth, and here it is. And so I just thank all of you for watching. If you liked what you saw and you want to see more, please subscribe to my channel, and I appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you have a fabulous day, everybody. Goodbye.